Hello, my friends. Hello, my life warriors, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Day In, Day Out podcast. Woo! Today on episode 130, I had the immense pleasure to have Karey Spransy on the podcast today. We talked about a number of things, her methodology, JOMO, joy of moving on. We also talked about her life and her struggle of fighting cancer, which, like spoilers, she was successful at. And we talked about her company, Carry On Coaching. I've got to say, very insightful lady, and I'm gonna call her from now on my young rebel. Yes, this is a lass who is a fighter, tough, and keeps on coming. A stubborn, maybe has a good stubborn streak, which leads to her tenacity. And so please enjoy the show. Have a great day, and please do not forget to subscribe. And be awesome. Have a great one, guys. Enjoy the show. Peace. Oh. Hello, my friends. Hello, my life warriors, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Day In, Day Out podcast. Woo! Today on episode 130, I have, Karey Spransy. Yes, I got it right. Yes. She is a coach. She is a owner of Carry On Coaching. And she is an American who now lives in glorious Amsterdam. I'm not going to say why she may have went there. Maybe it had herbal remedies, but that's another story. Karey, how are you today, my lady?
Oh, I'm so fantastic. The sun is shining in Amsterdam, which they count the sunshine here by the hour. Where I come from, I'm originally from Salt Lake City in the United States, and we have like 300 days of sunshine a year. When I heard that the Netherlands gets excited about like 30 hours of sunshine a year, I was, afraid.
This is the thing. Look, welcome to glorious Europe, and like with all its sort of interesting moments with weather.
Yes.
Why did you trade in guaranteed 365 days of sunshine practically to Amsterdam? What made you do the move?
Yeah, well, the short story is I moved for love. So my husband is Dutch, and he had just started a new career. He had just made a new transition in his career, and I had been in mine for 15.
Yeah.
And I had lived in Salt Lake City for 40 years, and I had just finished battling colon cancer, which we will get into, I'm sure. And I was ready for the move. So I sold everything I owned. I packed up my life and moved on over to Europe. And it's been an adventure. I've loved it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So, this is the thing. There are always the small little differences, like where you live, from like United States to like Holland. The Netherlands, I should say. What have you found has been sort of the biggest sort of change for you, like relocating?
Oh, it's I kind of have two answers to that. So there's sort of the cultural differences between, say, Americans and maybe Nederlanders, maybe the Dutch, or perhaps all Europeans, right? So there's some cultural differences that I noticed. Like in America, we have a lot of space. So personal space, calmness on the roads, personal space in grocery stores, personal space. So let me just say, I'm really kind of loving this 1.5 meters COVID times because it makes me feel at home. Whereas here in Europe, you're on top of each other. There's no more room. So that took some getting used to.
Yeah, because this is the thing. Like many moons ago, I used to work in satellite communications, so I had to travel all around Europe. Now you've gone from sort of like a huge state in comparison, where you can fit Holland several times into like your state to a country now, which, okay, let's just say if you've gone a long way in the Netherlands, you've traveled about 40 minutes to 50 minutes by train.
Yes,
I,
it's true.
look, I flew in. There was one time when the trains where they were doing sort of maintenance on the trains in Holland.
Uh-huh.
Flew in the morning, and I had to go right down to the south of
Okay.
Holland, and that
Uh-huh.
took 4 hours. That's how bad this engineering works were. It took
Oh,
me
wow.
4 hours to get there. And then miraculously, everything was fixed. And it took me about 40 minutes to get back to Schiphol.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. So that that is just more than likely mind-blowing for you. Because yeah.
Yeah, it really is. So yes, to your point, to your story, also what has been different for me is this like sense of distance and time. And so you're exactly right. Utah, where I'm from is 6 times the size of Holland. And in my entire state, we have 3.5 million people. In Holland, there are 17.5 million people. So they are 1/6 the size with like 5 times the people. And so we live in Amsterdam, but my husband is from Nijmegen.
Right.
And Nijmegen is sort of in the southeast of the country. That's where his parents live. And it's about an hour ish, maybe a little longer than an hour to drive. So
Okay.
when I first moved here, I was like, let's go have dinner with your parents on Saturday. And he was like, just dinner? No, like that's a whole weekend. I'm like, what? He's like, that's a shit end away. And I was like, it is not, it's an hour. For me growing up in Utah, we have a desert town. It's quite famous for mountain bikers. It's like the Mecca for mountain bikers and off-roaders. It's Moab, Utah. Arches National Park is there. So the iconic big Red Rock Arch is there. And that is about a 4-hour drive from my home in Salt Lake City. And in the summer, almost every weekend, I would get home from work at 5 o'clock on a Friday, pack up my little Volkswagen Jetta and throw my son in the car. And we'd drive 4 hours down to Moab. So I'd get there at like 10 o'clock. I'd set up my tent. We'd stay the weekend, drive home on Sunday, go to work and do it all again. It was like no big deal.
Yeah. No.
No big deal. And I'm still in my state, by the way. I've driven 4 hours and I'm still in my state. And for the Dutch, they're just like 20 minutes. No, not doing that.
Yeah. No.
It's too far.
Yeah, no, I understand. Look, this is the thing. Living in London, like going from one side of London to the other, if you're using public transport, well, you got to, because
Right.
if you drove, you're talking, 3 hours, like maybe to get from the most north to the south, just because of traffic issues and everything like this. But you can have an hour commute each way. So it's like, okay, no problem. But when your husband's like going, what? An hour? No, that's a weekend.
I know.
You're going,
Yeah.
you're going, where have I come to? What's different about this land?
Yeah, so I've actually sort of like changed that mindset of him a little bit, in that I'm like, hey, listen, it's not the journey, the road trip for this hour thing. The road trip is part of the journey. So we've started to get into like true crime podcasts. And so, I'm like, we talk, sometimes we don't take the highway. We actually turn it into like a 2-hour drive. So we kind of drive off just to explore the country and see. So he's starting to get into like the adventure of it. So we're getting there.
Changed him.
We're working one drive to Nijmegen at a time.
So with that, I got to I just trying to get a feel for who you are, because like this is the thing, like to like go, yeah, you know what, I love you, and I'm coming all the way to Europe. That is quite a leap for some people. But like this is the thing, you have, how can I put it? You have had quite a challenging sort of start to life, because before you went to college, like what was the thing, what sort of kicked things off to like make your college experience that little bit more challenging, say?
Yeah, well, yeah, so my high school boyfriend and I got pregnant. So here I am, a senior in high school. I'm 17 years old. I had been playing like high level varsity sports the entire time.
Yeah.
I have several colleges scouting me to go play volleyball and softball for them. So I'm like, I've got this trip at the end of when I graduate in June. I'm going to go on this cruise through Greece with my grandmother, and like, I had all this stuff going on.
Yeah.
And then, oops, I get pregnant.
That's like,
Uh,
yeah.
oops, yeah, oops.
Okay.
So I get pregnant, and so of course all those plans go out the window, right? So I end up getting married to my son's father, my high school sweetheart, over
Mm.
Christmas break of our senior year of high school. I move out of my parents' house into an apartment with him. We go back and finish our senior year of school. I change schools. We go back to the senior year of school. I walk across the stage in my cap and gown, and 2 weeks later have my son, and I'm 18 years old.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, like, wow. Wow, that is how can I put, a real sliding doors moment right there. It's like the world was going to be one way, and then it was like,
Mhm.
okay. Like, what was sort of like some of the challenges you faced when you sort of like, yeah, after the graduation, 2 weeks later, little child is in the world. What was that like for you and your first husband?
Well, so first, I instantly went back to my mother and my parents, and bawled my eyes out and was like, I'm sorry, I was such a little asshole as a child. Being an adult is really hard, and I didn't realize, and I'm so sorry. So that was first, where I was just like, whoa. I think, as kids, as kids and teenagers, with all the rules that your parents put on you, we're
Yeah.
just like, this sucks, I can't wait to get out of here and do what I want and live my own life. And then you get out there and you're like, whoa, this is hard. I actually had it pretty good. I had, like, everything was paid for. Adulting can be hard. So that was like the big thing. And of course, mind you, he's also 18. I mean, we're both 18. We have no idea what in the hell we're doing. We have no idea. And the truth is, had we not gotten pregnant, I mean, I loved him, right? He was my first love. He was my first for everything. And we were in love, but we were in 17, 18-year-old love, and we were not compatible. We came from very different backgrounds. I mean, yeah, we were not compatible. And had we not had this child, we would have broken up after high school. I
Mm.
would have gone on to college and played these sports and done all of these things that I had mapped out for my life. And maybe he would have tagged along, but ultimately we would not have stayed together because we were really different. And that's what ended up happening before I was 21. We were divorced. But we had added a home, so we had bought a home.
Yeah.
So I mean, so anyways, we just like piled all the things on, which was crazy. And it ended up not working out. But yeah, it was just trying to, because right now all of my girlfriends and friends are having kids. So most of my peer group has children from like 6 on down to brand newborns,
Mm.
because typically that's what, you start having kids in your 30s and 40s, right? Not in your 18s.
Now it is, but
Right.
the whole thing is like, if you reround by another sort of 20 years before you had your child, it would have been
Yeah.
like, okay, you would have had a couple of friends, not so much like just on the heels of you, if you get what I mean. It would just be like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah. 20s, mid 20s, end of your 20s,
yeah,
typically, 20, 30 years ago was when most typically people were having children. So, but my friends always ask me, like, because you've done this, my son's 26. I'm actually talking to you right now as a grandma. So that just like, we just fast forwarded the story quite a bit. But yeah, my son, who's now 26, has his own son who is going to be 2 in April, at the end of
Wow.
April. So my friends are like, well, you've done this. How do you be a parent? And I'm like, I don't know. I think I was just like, what I say is, I think your job as a parent is, first of all, you have to understand that we're all humans who are just trying to do the best we can.
Mm.
And I think my job as a parent is like being the bumpers on a bowling alley. The ball is going to go the direction it's going to go. And my job is to just kind of keep you from completely jumping the lane, but
Mm.
not to, but to let you kind of live your own life and actually smack into the barriers every now and then, like because you have to figure out your own way. But I'm just kind of here on the sides to be like, yeah, that's a little too far. Yeah, that's a little too, like, hey,
Yeah.
keep it inside the lines here a bit, but make your own path. And so, and interestingly, my brother just had his first child, and from Salt Lake City, Utah is where I'm from. And so many of your listeners might be questioning like, oh, well, did she grow up Mormon? Yes, I did. LDS. And my brother is as well. And he recently gave a blessing to his child. And I thought it was really beautiful because in it, he asked for some grace from his son. Now, of course, his son is like, not even a year, but he just sort of like put this ask out into the universe of just like, your mom and I love you. We want the best for you. And we're going to do the best we can every single day for you. And we will make mistakes, but we love you. We want nothing but the best, so have a little grace for us as we try to do our best and do right by you, which I thought was beautiful. I mean, it's just acknowledging that like no parent has all the answers, even though a lot of us act like we do, but we don't.
No, no. Like this is the thing. I think I'm not a parent myself, but from what I've seen from my friends and everything like that, it's just like, okay, yeah, like we're pregnant, we're having a baby. It's like, okay, like I've seen some friends are like the stare comes in like going, okay, well, just like, and they just got this 1,000-mile stares.
That's right.
Like other friends have been like, okay, yeah, I'm really psyched. But the one thing I've seen on all of their faces after that child has arrived is like, okay, what the hell am I meant to do?
That's right. Yeah.
How is this meant to work? And it's just like, off you go now. And it's like, and yeah, I how can I put it? I'm fearful for when I have that look. If that happens to me, that fearful look comes to my face. Like I'm okay, holding this child. Like I don't know what to do. It's like,
Well,
don't let me screw up. It's like,
yeah.
it's like yeah, just like yeah. Don't be dancing for money or become some sort of like mass murderer in history. That's all I want. Just like, just please.
Right. Right. I know exactly. That's all most of us ever want. And I guess, when if and when that day comes for you, just know that we all look that way. And, there's no right or wrong way to do it. I mean, of course, there are some like, everybody wants love and connection and to feel safe and all of that. But apart from like providing those things, what I needed from my parents is completely different than what my sister needed from my parents.
Mm.
So there's just, we all just do the best we can.
Yeah, no, because like this is the thing. I think some people think, oh yeah, kids are gonna be all cookie cutters. Like just like, yeah, that child will be exactly like that child. And I have seen kids which have like, you see the first child, that's like then they'll be quiet, meek, just like, hey, how you doing? And then you see another, like you see their sibling just like, oh, yes, I will rule this world one way or the other. You're like, what?
Yeah.
What was different? It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, it is crazy. It is really crazy how they do kind of come pre-wired. And so like to your point, and kind of just to weave a bit more of my sort of rough start prior to coming to Amsterdam was my son. So I mentioned that his father and I separated when we were before we were 21, and so until I was about 31, it was just my son and I. And his dad, of course, was like in and out of the picture and things like that, but my son basically lived with me. He grew up with me, he was around me. And even then, when I was 31, that's when I met husband number 2. But my son was still with me. I just had this partner as well. And so but then in 2017, right in the middle of my whole cancer battle, my son's father, my first husband, took his own life. And that was shocking, as it always is. And it unlocked something in my son that I didn't even know was there. My ex-husband, his father, was prone to depression, really struggled with just joy and happiness and worthiness. And I think when you don't feel worthy of love, belonging, connection, happiness because of whatever's gone on in your life as a child, I think that lends itself to depression and such. On top of that, he had been in the military, so he also had some PTSD. So he was just carrying a whole lot. And when we lost him, my son got incredibly depressed, like could not get out of bed. And while I fully 100% expected him to be sad and heartbroken that he'd lost his father, I did not expect debilitating depression to come up as well, because he had never exhibited that before. And he had grown up, I'm his mom, and I'm just sort of like genuinely happy. Yes, I get sad and upset and frustrated, but my base is happy. And so one, I thought there would be more of that. And 2, he'd lived with me. So he'd sort of seen that in action. And it was almost like all of that went out the window. So to your point, there was this really innate, you often hear like nature versus nurture.
Yes.
And nature took over at this point. It was really interesting for me to see and watch. And I'll just say, one of the worst things to ever do is watch your child suffer and not how to help.
Yeah, no, but being in that type of position, it's like, yes, you think you've like put in all the right ingredients, but like the whole thing is you don't know like the sort of, as they say, still waters run deep, if you get what I mean. And with regards to maybe there was some type of thing where he really wanted to have that sort of bond and relationship, and that kind of that loss of potential gone, and it manifested in a way which was a surprise to you, because you thought, yes, I've given you all these ingredients for this, but as we all grow up and we like parents add a healthy dose of themselves to it, but the friends and the people we run with add so much more, and those personal experiences and like like being in the military, like who knows what went on there,
right?
You know, but like this is the thing, like it would like I would say it's come out more positive for your boy, because like he is now a father of a 2-year-old, and like you know what I mean, that sort of bond and relationship he had with his father, he can actually like foster and make that happen with his own child. So in some respects, like yes, he missed out on that opportunity, but in other respects, he has a much broader opportunity, much more opportunities to make something special with his like child, and like take things forward from there. So I would say, it is a negative, but there is a net positive with potentially there for him.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And I think, and basically you've touched on what is really sort of my motto and mission, which is this JOMO, finding the joy of moving on.
Mm,
So yes, while that is a sad story, and we all, so many of us have some sad stories like that, challenging things, help diagnoses, like me with cancer, my son watching his mom do cancer and then losing his father. Like, we all have these things in our life that are hard and challenging and sad and sometimes unfair and come out of the blue, and all of the emotions. And there's always an opportunity. There's always a little bit of joy. There's always sunshine happening at the same time that you can focus on, or looking back, you can see exactly what you just mentioned. For my son, he can say, this is what I wished I had received from my father, so I'm going to be damn sure I give it to my son, and that's beautiful. Like, in some ways, what a tremendous gift,
mm. Indeed,
you
indeed.
know?
Yeah, I hear that. And like, this is the thing, like the moments we like actually live through and the moments which bring us joy, they like sometimes they're few and far between and they seem like miles away. But when they do come, how much more glorious they are. Like, tell me, uh, ringing the bell.
Yeah, ringing the bell. Oh my God. So, we've all seen it. It's a really typical thing to do at the end of cancer when you have finished all of your chemotherapy rounds
Mm,
and you're done and no more chemotherapy. You get to ring the bell. And I rang that thing so hard I thought it was going to come off of the wall. It just, it's such a tremendous milestone to know that you've gone through that phase of your journey, that part of your battle is done, and to just hear that sound and to ring that and the whole place is cheering and my family was standing around. It just, yeah, it was a pretty magical moment. And everyone else sitting in, because it's right in the middle of the infusion ward. And
mm,
so while I'm ringing the bell, there's, 10 other people. This is pre-COVID, but, typically there's like 10 plus other people sitting in chairs, all with, their cocktail, which, by the way, I just think, like, cancer, you got to stop. You can't change. You can't call our chemotherapy cocktails. Cocktails are super fun to drink, not.
It's like,
But anyways, that's another advocacy thing. But they're all sitting around, and so then you see someone ringing the bell, and it reminds you, like, okay, I'm going to be there soon too. I can do this. I can keep going. Look, she ended. My time's coming. So it's a really beautiful thing. So, and that marked the end of my chemotherapy, which I had to do 12 rounds. It was every other week for 6 months, and because of how my cancer changed, I actually did 4 rounds of chemotherapy, and then. So I had colon cancer. So I had a tumor in my colon that burst, which meant, like, at noon on a Friday, I started not feeling super great. So at this time, my husband and I were not married. He was living in Amsterdam and I was living in Salt Lake City. So we would do this FaceTime lunch. So we would be on FaceTime. I'd be having lunch. He'd be having dinner. We'd sort of catch up, and then I would go on with the rest of my day and he'd head off to bed. Because it's an 8-hour time difference. And so we were doing that, and I was like, oh, I don't really feel good. I kind of have an upset stomach. And he was like, oh, well, just, lay down, take a nap. No, I've got some client appointments that I need to do. So I'll just get through those and then I'll come home and lay down. Well, that was at noon. And by 3 o'clock, I was in the emergency room because I could not breathe and I was getting bloated. Like, it was crazy. It was so painful. And the doctors looked at me and couldn't figure out what was going on. And so they said, well, we need to go in laparoscopically. We're just going to make like 3 small incisions. We're going to stick a camera in there, see what's going on.
yeah.
And then it'll be about an hour and then we'll know what's happening. Okay. So, and it was just me and my dad. I had called my dad, and he's, at this time he's like 60. And I was in such pain. I could barely breathe and I could barely walk, that my father carried me into the emergency room. And he's 60. I mean, it was so bad. So he's the only one there. And I'm thinking this is going to be an hour. And I wake up and I look at the clock. 5 hours had gone by. And I have staples from my navel to my pubic bone in a colostomy bag.
Oh my God.
And my whole family is there, including my son, and I freak out. I literally start to go into shock.
Yeah.
And the doctors had said, listen, we've told her what's going on, but she's under anesthesia, so she's probably not going to remember, and this is going to be a shock. And that's exactly what happened. So, my son grabbed me and he was holding my hands. He's just like, Mom, look at me, breathe. You're going to be okay. They saved your life. You're going to be okay. Just calm down. We'll tell you, all of this. So yeah, that tumor had burst. And so what was happening, why I was so sick, was because I was going into septic shock, because I was just filling up with fecal matter, with shit, basically. I was just, my digestion was leaking into my body, and that's what was making me so sick. And had I waited an hour longer, I probably would be dead, because I would have just gotten completely septic bacterial infection system wide, and they couldn't have cleaned it up.
My God, like, this is a thing. Wow. That is, like, I'm amazed. Wow. Like, I'm amazed and slightly terrified at how quickly that sort of like going from, I feel a little bit peculiar, to like, okay, you waking up, like regaining consciousness and like going, okay, staple, colostomy bag, and like, your family around you, like going, okay, yeah, they've saved your life. That is like a very sort of like, well, alarming, as I said, terrifying, but yeah, like looking back on that, like what sort of lessons did you sort of take away from that type of situation, if any?
Well, from that immediate thing, it taught me very quickly and very acutely to trust and listen to my body, that I know what's going on. And this is why I say that, because a few years earlier, well, maybe like 5-ish years earlier, I had gone into my OB and said, listen, my periods are incredibly painful. It is always the left side. It feels like there's a little boxer in there just like punching my left ovary. It's incredibly painful. My tubes have been tied for 10 years now. My son is, 18. I'm done having kids. Can we please just get a hysterectomy, because this is awful? And he said, well, no, that's extreme. We can manage the cramps and the pain that you're having with birth control, basically. So let's do that and see what happens. Well, fast forward now to this situation, and what ultimately happened was that tumor in my colon burst, which put me into sepsis. And while they were in there, they saw that on my left ovary, I had a mass. But because I was so toxic in there, they said, okay, we're going to give you a colostomy, and so that the bacteria, the infection, everything that can calm down. And then in 6 weeks, we'll get rid of that colostomy and hook you back up, and we'll deal with this ovary thing. But we don't want to cut anything in there, because it's so toxic. Most likely that incision will get infected, and then it will just be this big mess. So no pun intended. So we're just going to leave it, right? Well, the colon cancer had metastasized or jumped over onto my left ovary. Well, 5 years ago, I was like, it's the left ovary. Had I said, no, I don't want to be on birth control, I don't want to be dealing with that, get an ultrasound, look at this. Had the doctor said, I hear that you have cramps, but you're so specific about where it's at, let's just do an ultrasound and take a look. They would have seen that mass on my ovary. We would have dealt with that. They would have biopsied it, colon cancer. Oh, well, now let's do a colonoscopy. Oh, there's a polyp in here. There's a tumor in here. Let's take that out. And I would have been fine. And I could have skipped the bags, the chemo, the radiation, the numbness in my feet that I still have 3 years later. I could have skipped all of it. So that was the lesson that I learned from that, that you have to be your best advocate. The doctors are doing the best they can, but they don't have all the information, and they don't know you. And plus, at this moment, I mean, I got that colon cancer 1 month before my 41st birthday. That's young. Plus, I was working out 6 days a week. That morning I went to the emergency room, I'd done yoga at 6 a.m. So I woke up feeling absolutely fine. Went to 6 a.m. yoga, did my work, had my little lunch FaceTime. Oh, I don't feel good. And by that night, my entire life was different.
Absolutely crazy. My
Yeah.
God. Yeah. Wow. Like, like I listening to your own body, listening to yourself, having belief in yourself and go, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
having that self-confidence. And like at 41, like, you know what I mean? Like you're like going, okay, 5 years earlier, 36, you would think, oh yes, I am confident. I know myself. I believe in myself and everything like this. But to sort of let yourself get, yeah, okay, this person knows best.
Yeah, I mean, with a doctor, you think, well, they do know best. I mean, that's why they're the doctor and I'm the patient, but they don't always. That's the other thing. The other thing I learned, and to this point, is when I had gone into the emergency room initially, they did do some ultrasounds and couldn't figure out what was wrong, which is why they decided to go. So the emergency room did some ultrasounds and they said, we can see some liquid in here, but we're not exactly sure what's going on. So we think you're constipated. Here's some pain meds and here's a laxative, and oh, and we can see this thing on your left ovary. So call your OB in the morning. And I was like, I'm not constipated. So I didn't take the laxative.
Oh God.
Had I would have died in my sleep because it would have liquefied everything. The next day, I woke up and called my doctor and was like, this is what's happening. It needs to be fixed now. I went to see him and he was the one that was like, let's look like laparoscopically, go.
Yeah.
So that emergency room doctor, had I listened to him, I'd be dead. So the thing is that yes, doctors do know what they're doing, but they don't know everything. And there's no way they can know me and you and the all the people that they see. And they also can't know the nuances, and they sure as hell can't know what it feels like in my body. You know?
No, like this is the thing. I think like also something which most really would have been like like a benefit for you helping saving your life is the fact that yes, you are doing like exercising so much, because like something like that, jeez, it must have been a like physical wrecking ball for like just going through that. But with the yoga and like yoga and other exercising you were doing, like gives you that sort of core strength to like go, okay, I am together. I am like, so when this did happen, where if you weren't,
Mm-hmm.
that sort of extra 10, 20%, who knows where you'd be right now if we would be having this conversation. That's another story.
Right.
Yeah. So like to sort of like take a sort of tangential jump away. Look,
Okay.
it's like, look, yeah, because it's like that I could talk to you about the ins and outs of that, the sort of fight, like the fight, the recovery.
Mm-hmm.
Like you still mentioned your feet are numb today. And like, you know
Yep.
what, like sort of get like regaining your strength and getting back to where you are now as
Mm-hmm.
a like coach right now, doing the exercising, like doing the yoga classes, everything like this. That is one hell of a journey right there, you know. And we like I could talk to you about that for hours. But
Yeah.
yeah, but like this is the thing. There is a lot more things you've been doing along the way, because look, you while you were a young mother, you still went back
Mm-hmm.
to university and you got your degree in sports and exercise, and you kind of like, yeah, from there you just
Yep.
kept hammering it out. Like, yeah, fitness instructor, personal trainer. What, like, yeah. How did you manage to sort of keep that going? Like, young son, college, yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but yeah.
No, I mean, I hear you because I think back on my life and I look back on my life and I think, oh my God, how in the hell did I do that? You know, I
Mm,
mean, but so one, I had tremendous support from my family. So my mother was able to provide daycare for my son during that time. So thankfully, I was able to really rely on my family to help me raise my son, to help support me at least with daycare and some of those things while I went to school. And I think, Miwa, to your question, I think the biggest thing that was driving me is, I mentioned earlier that growing up in Salt Lake City, it's a very religious community. It's less so now, but back then, 25 years ago, it is the headquarters of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or the Mormons, as people know, hear it both ways. So it is the headquarters of that. And I grew up in a Mormon family, and like many religions, sex before marriage is a big no-no. And, I think almost all religions say, marriage, sex before marriage is a sin.
Listen here, my little rebel friend. Look, yeah, I hear you. And like, yeah. The thing, when you went, yes, I'm a Mormon, I was like, okay. Because look, I watched this like crazy documentary on Netflix about like this guy who was pulling a sort of con job, and bombs and murder and like defrauding the Church of Latter-day Saints.
You want to hear something wild about that? Is he lived 2 streets away from where I grew up, and we know him.
No. Yeah. Oh God, like, because I can't even remember his name, because he was a rock star when it came to sort of like, discovering,
finding documents.
Yeah. I was like going, oh my God. Yeah. And it was just like, you kind of like halfway through the documentary, you're kind of like, okay, yeah, like how is he finding all of these documents? Like once, twice, okay, 3 times possibly, but it was like,
nobody's questioning, like, wow, this is pretty incredible. Yeah. So, I mean, mind you, that story, so I watched it as well, and I'm watching it. I'm sitting here with my husband, and I'm like, I know this story. But, when he got arrested, or I think when the bombs went off, I was 10,
okay.
So I was young. I think it was 85, and I'm from 70. So I was 9, so I'm from 76. And so, I was a kid, and like, while this is kind of like, when the bombs went off, I was a 10-year-old. So like, I was watching the news, but I wasn't like following it, it's not like as an adult. Right. And so I'm watching this, and I'm like, I know this story. Oh my God, I know that house. Holy. And so then I pause it, and I say to my husband, and I'm like, this is what's going to happen. I think he's forged those, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, spoiler. And he's like, well, I don't want to ruin it for you, but you know what happens with the Titanic? And I was like, well, I'm sorry, I don't mean to ruin the story for you, but really, I just wanted to sort of check if I'm right, So then, so he actually, I know his name too, but I feel hesitant to say it, only just because I don't want to like keep promoting him or giving him glory or whatever. But yeah, his family grew, they lived, all of those shots that you're seeing in that are 2 streets away. Like, he went to our same church building. We were in one congregation, and he was in another congregation, but we all met at the same church, just at different times. And his kids would have gone to school at the same elementary school that I went to. They're younger than me, but they would, like, crazy, right?
Yeah. Oh my God.
Well, we call it Small Lake City for a reason.
Oh, indeed. Like, like, you know what? Wow. Like that, you have, like, that's an interesting chunk of history right there.
Right?
Yeah. But as I say, my rebellious friend. Yeah. Yeah. So like now, okay. Like sex before marriage, having a child out of wedlock, like then like partial to like a cocktail or 2, maybe. Because like, if I remember rightly, Mormons are not, they drink occasionally, or is it they're not allowed?
No alcohol. Okay. Yep. No alcohol. They don't drink. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, you've got this rebellious streak, what runs through you. Okay. And I would imagine working for someone else must have been, how can I say, you could do it, but you would not be happy at doing it. So is this how you kind of went, okay, I'm out of college, like, thank you, Mom, for helping me with the kid, like my son and everything like this, going through like college. Like, by the time you graduated, you were just divorced, right?
No, it actually, yeah, no. So we got divorced, and then it took me 10 years to get through my degree because I was having to be a single mom. I was having to work full time because I, wasn't getting child support. Plus, this was 1994, and his father was also 20 years old. So it's not like we were making a ton of money. So it took me 10 years to get that 4-year degree because I was having to pay for it myself. I got some scholarships along the way and such, but yeah, it took me a long time to do it. But it was important to me. So I brought all that up because I think the underlying thing was just like, yes, I had rebelled. And I just felt, not because of anything that anyone had said to me, but I just developed this, I'm not going to be the stereotype of, if you get pregnant at a young age, it ruins your life. I am going to prove to everyone, secretly to myself, I'm going to prove to everyone that I'm not a total screw up, that I did not derail my life, that I am going to beat the statistics. So that's why I just went for it. And so I just kept going. Sometimes I would just take one class. Sometimes I'd be able to take two. Some semesters I wouldn't be able to take any because I couldn't afford it or whatever. So that's why it took me 10 years to get my 4-year degree.
Wow. Would you say you're a tough individual?
Yes.
Right.
Sometimes to my detriment, but yes.
Because for me, from from all you've gone through, it's just like, okay, look, parenthood, cancer, basically doing a 10-year degree. Look, there, people would be like, yeah, there's lots of easier ways you could have done this in your life, blah, 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 blah. And all I've got to simply say, yeah, tough individual with a stubborn streak, right? Yeah, thank you very much. Stop talking. And it's yeah, what is the drive? What keeps you going? Because damn, 10 years to do a degree. It's finding getting money together here and getting money together there. It would have been easier for many people to go, yeah, look, get the degree. You might be able to get a professional qualification to become a personal trainer and stuff like this. But what made you go, yes, I must? Just like you mentioned, I wanted to prove it to myself, but it has to be more than just that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a couple of things. So one thing that my father always taught me growing up was that the time is going to go by regardless. So 10 years is going to go by whether you're in school chipping away at it or you're not. And there's never a perfect time to do anything. And all that's going to happen is you're going to be 10 years older. Life is going to be 10 years more complicated. So one small bite at a time, one small step at a time. The time is going to go by anyway. So just keep going. Just keep going. And again, I wanted to beat the statistics, and I just knew that a high school degree was just not going to cut it, that I needed to have at least a 4-year degree. And I actually went to school initially thinking I wanted to be an architect. And then I got into computer aided drafting and was like, whoa, this is the worst. So then I switched.
Yeah.
Because I like dealing with people. I just was like, I could not just draw with a mouse all day. No, was not going to be for me at all. So I went and got my exercise and sports science degree, and with a minor in parks and recreation, because my ultimate dream, and this is still my dream now, this is what I'm working towards, but my ultimate dream is to have a destination retreat or center, ideally in Costa Rica, because I just love that country and the weather and the food and the music and everything. So anyways, but to have this retreat where you come with your partner for 7 to 10 days and do this whole life makeover. You learn a new skill, a new sport, a new activity, tennis, rock climbing, hiking, canyoneering, kind of whatever you want. You learn healthy eating. So it would be open kitchen with cooking classes and things like that. There'd be yoga, meditation, and all of that. And then you go back into your life with this whole new skill set and a partner in crime, which is why ideally you come with your partner. Certainly singles could come, but you would come with your partner so that you both go back and this becomes a lifestyle now. So that's why I got those 2 degrees. But then, I had my son. And so I needed to, in the United States, health insurance is through your employer. And I needed to provide some stability. I needed a page. So I did work as a personal trainer sort of right near the end of university and right out of university. But it was just not paying the bills at all. And with a job like that, you have to be in the gym all the time. So it just didn't work. So I went and got a corporate job in sales and that was the job that I did for 15 years. And it provided a phenomenal life for us. I was really good at it.
Yeah. What were you selling?
It's an a decorative architectural material. So it's resin, basically. It's plastic with organics and prints and fabrics, decorative materials sandwiched between 2 layers of plastic. It's essentially like a replacement for glass. And so I spent my time talking to architects and designers, educating them on the material, and then showing them how they can use it in their projects and helping them design it into their projects. So that's what I did. And that's where I met my husband, because he did the same thing for the same company, but his territory was the Netherlands, Belgium, and Luxembourg. And my territory was Utah, Montana, and Wyoming. And we met in the United States at a sales conference, and the rest is history.
I see. Contact.
What happens at sales conference?
Yeah. Say no more.
Yeah. So we were that cliche, but yes, yeah.
It's like, yes, I wouldn't expect anything less from you, my rebel.
I know, right?
Yes, that's how I'm going to refer to you from now on, my rebel.
I like it. I like it.
Dare I ask,
mm-hmm.
who was the best salesperson out of you and your husband?
Well, I was. But in fairness, he is a very good salesperson, and we just had very different markets. The US was just much quicker to adopt this sort of like innovative material. In Europe, design, while like design is forward thinking, the materials used are very traditional: glass, stone, wood, that kind of thing.
Okay, no worries. I'm sure that will help stroke his ego. Yes.
I think secretly he'd agree. He'd be like, "Yeah, you were."
I'm glad to see there's a competition between the 2.
I mean, I sold him on me, right? So,
look. All I've got to say is, yeah. In that case, I think he might be saying, "I'm secretly winning." There you go.
I think he would say the same thing. We say the same thing about each other. He's absolutely wonderful, and it's been, and he was absolutely 100% my rock during cancer. It was unbelievable, and I don't know how I would have gotten through that without him.
Yeah. The support of a good partner in one's life, I think, is absolutely essential, especially over the last year everyone has had on this beloved planet of ours.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Like, so you still got the sort of retreat in mind. Mm-hmm. So what made you go, okay, you know what? I've been a yoga instructor for a number of years, and I've been doing this. I've been a personal trainer. Like, mm-hmm. What made you bring on like Carey on coaching?
Yeah, well, so the name kind of came across during the cancer battle. It really just kind of brought into focus for me not only what I was going through at that time, but everything I had been through. And I started to think like, God, why all of these things?
Yeah.
Why did I take I have this saying that I learned from a girlfriend of mine. It's like, you can take the hard road to the easy life or the easy road to the hard life. So that is why I got that college degree and went so hard, because I did not want the rest of my life to be hard. I
Mm,
was like, I'll do hard now so that I can have easy later, instead of like easy now. Like, oh, it would be so much easier for me not to go to university and just get a job. But then that leads to a much harder life down the road. And so I just, yeah, it put into focus just what was the purpose of all of this. And really, if I don't do something with this, if I don't use what I've been through to inspire others that they can do the hard stuff,
mm,
to inspire others to find the joy when life gets hard, to encourage people to love themselves and to laugh at the absurdity of life, then it just feels like all of that was a waste. And it was just hard for no reason. And so um, I kind of started to really put this mindset, this attitude into play through all of cancer. And part of that is because I was a yoga instructor, and I did have that practice, and exercise for me was such a part of, is such a part of my identity, that I had sort of these tools that I could rely on to stay joyful even though I was going through this cancer,
mm.
to laugh when my colostomy bag would fart in the middle of a client meeting and puff up my shirt, to, which happened, to you know to just, like, you can't make up some of the things that happened to me. And it just, like, instead of cry, I would laugh. Sometimes I would cry and laugh, but like, it just was like, you got to be joking that this is what's happening. So, I mean, what do you do? And so my friend started to joke that, like, you just keep calm and carry on. And so that's how that name came about, Carry On Coaching. And my mission is to help people drop the shoulds and to keep calm and carry on and live a life full of JOMO. Use what happens to them to find the joy and move on. Find the glittery bits, find the joyful aspects. They are always there, and use it to move on. Use it to make you stronger.
Yeah. You know what? You know, to keep calm and carry on, sort of like, you need to make t-shirts with that. Like, so yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, keep calm and carry on, like carry on. You need
Yeah.
to make more, you need to make t-shirts with that. So, and yeah, just hand them out to people to wear, like, around the world. It's like, yes, look at me,
Right.
my t-shirt. It's a great saying. And like, I like that.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
no,
Yeah. My
because,
husband and I have those shirts, actually. I
ah,
just haven't developed them and put them on my website or anything yet, but yeah, it's coming. That'll come at some point when I get, you know, world famous, which this podcast is going to do, right?
what can I say? Yes, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
yeah. Uh, Small steps,
No.
steps. Like, before you know it, I'll most probably be living in Austin, having the company of a bald-headed chap, and and some of these cohorts. Oh, Texas. Here I am in Texas. But yeah,
That's funny.
but I like the whole fact that, look, like, determination, hard work, and like, yeah, having the patience to keep going, because
Mhm.
I think much of the world today, it's instant gratification. Look, yeah, I won't lie. Like, even like, if our internet's like even 30 seconds slower than it normally should be,
Oh,
drives you nuts.
exactly.
But, like, but the whole thing is the patience, like the dedication, like, keep that perseverance to keep on going. I think
Mhm.
that is a lesson that many people still need to know, still need to pick that up, because I think too many people now are just like, okay, if it doesn't happen tomorrow, there is no point. And they
Mhm.
just like go, right. They don't invest that time, they don't invest that
Mhm.
effort, and like, they yield little or no results, or
Mhm.
like the potential which could have been there is just like, you gotta go, but you could have all of this. Of Obviously you can't see it, but if you use your mind's eye, you can have this. And it might sound strange saying this, but have faith in yourself that you can actually do that, that you can actually achieve this. Be
Yeah.
more than the sum of your parts. I think
Yeah.
it's hard.
It is hard. And but I think part of why it becomes hard is because, so to your point, I completely agree. We have become so impatient, myself included. Sometimes I get frustrated when the internet's breaking up. I'm just like, this piece of, the same thing. And same day delivery from Amazon is not helping.
No.
Like, that's absurd that I could order, a new game or a new phone case at 8 a.m. and by 5 it's at my doorstep. That's crazy. It's insane.
Yeah.
And so that type of thing is not helping our impatience for sure. But I think where perseverance gets hard is that we don't break it down. And so, like, for example, if you want to lose 50 pounds, or you want to lose, I don't know, what is that, 25K? I don't know the
50
math.
pounds, it's around about 25, like 24, 25 kg.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you want to lose that, right, if every day you're stepping on the scale and you're thinking 25 pounds, and you just keep thinking like it's never going to happen, then you give up, right? But if you just think, I want today I'm going to move for 20 minutes today, and I'm going to drink, my water bottle. These are my goals. I'm going to drink this today, and I'm going to move for 20 minutes today. If you do that every day, you will lose, the 50, 25 kg. You'll lose it, right? Over time. But like that, to think like, oh, I have to lose 25 right now. That's really hard. But I have to move for 20 minutes today. That's easy. And so it's about just like taking the small steps, because yes, losing that amount of weight by moving 20 minutes every day, maybe that takes you 3 years to do that. But guess what? 3 years is going to be here anyway. So you can, in 3 years, you can be like, oh my God, if only I had moved 20 minutes every day, I'd be 50 pounds lighter, instead of like, thank God, right? So do you want to say, what if, or like, thank God? What do you want to say in 3 years? Because 3 years is going to come.
Yeah.
Whether you're doing it or not. So it's a little of just like breaking it down into bite-sized steps and just taking one day at a time. I think the other thing that helps, that gets us really overwhelmed, is comparison. So there's also that. So then we just like, we look on social media or in our friend group, and we see people who seemingly are doing it quicker, easier, better, faster, all of the things. And it's just simply not true.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's simply not true. And to do the small things that work for you, and to stop comparing and just stay focused on what you want is another component of it. And then I think the last thing is to be present into your day. So yes, it's good to plan ahead, right? Yes, it's good to save today so that you build up a savings account for when you retire, but you have to live today as well. So it does you no good to not spend any money, because when you're 65, you want to have, $1 million or whatever, right? Like, you've got to stay present to what's happening in the moment, and do things in the moment that serve your bigger goal.
Indeed. Yeah, I think what people need to, I think with regards to the sort of social media, like, everyone's got to remember that is just a BS highlight reel. And like, you're just getting this snapshot of what someone wants to put out there as their perfect moment in their life and stuff like this.
Yeah.
And you kind of like, okay, yeah, they're really doing great. And you're like, yeah, that was like maybe 10 minutes out of a 24-hour day.
Exactly.
That's a lot.
And how many shots did they take before they got that one that they wanted? And I mean,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, like yes, I have seen people's faces when they've put filters on, and it's like going, is that the same person? And
Right.
it's like going, what? That is crazy. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so it's just like, no, no. Now look, you have got a lot of knowledge and, like, you know what I mean, drive and ambition and like hey, that's like rebellious streak. I'm not too sure which should be allowed into the world too much, but it's out there. Yeah. But like this is the thing. Like I've seen you've got yourself your Instagram. I've seen you've got your YouTube channel, which like you
Hmm.
haven't put on anything up on there for the last
No,
like 4 months or so.
I
Yeah,
know it. Yep.
yeah. But like this is the thing. Like, have you thought about doing your own podcast just out of interest sake?
I have thought about it. I've thought about it. I haven't done it yet because I feel like I'm really focused at the moment on doing like the one-on-one coaching and the sort of like the smaller group thing. I think that doing a podcast is probably in my future. I really love being guests on podcasts. Um, I guess the closest thing I'm doing at the moment, really consistently, that's podcast esque would be I'm in Clubhouse and I host 3 rooms in Clubhouse.
Yeah,
Have
how is
you?
that working for you? Because like this is the thing. Like when I was first introduced to Clubhouse, it was by my
Mm-hmm.
friend Hugo, and it was like a case of once that sort of went out into my sort of like lexicon, then all of a sudden someone was like, "Oh yeah, got a Clubhouse invite." I'm on Android, so
Mm,
it's like yeah, but like I had this sort of realm of FOMO, fear of missing out,
yes.
going
Mm-hmm.
on. But like this is the thing, like I'm not too sure if it's a thing which is going to be a standalone thing itself or
Right.
just a feature of something else. Like
Mm-hmm.
how has that, like I've had a couple of conversations with people and it hasn't been like, oh, this is brilliant. It's been kind of like, yeah, it's been okay. And some people be like,
Mm.
nah. And some people have actually gone, yeah, it's brilliant. Where do you sit on that whole realm with Clubhouse?
I think it's freaking brilliant.
Okay.
I think it's brilliant. And the reason I think it's brilliant, there's a couple of reasons why I think it's brilliant. One is that there are no pictures, no videos, no nothing.
Hmm.
So there's a lot, apart from like the bios. So you just have a profile picture so that people, when you're talking, they can see your a picture of you, but not your face. So one, it takes the pressure off of having to have this sort of Instagram worthy, curated, filtered life. I can be, in my pajamas literally and be on Clubhouse talking. I have, there's no reason to get dressed when you're on Clubhouse. There's no camera, no pictures, no nothing. So that's one thing that I think is really great about it.
Mm.
And two, I always talk about it as like it's sort of the best of podcasting and talk radio, in that like with talk radio, you tune into the station and you just listen to whatever the show is happening, and if you want to make a comment you can call in and make a comment, so you can interact in that way. But it's just like whatever the program is at the 12 o'clock hour,
Yeah.
it's the Miwa show, and we either tune in and then pick up the phone and interact with what you want to talk about that day, or we don't tune in, right? Podcasting, on the other hand, is fabulous because you can really sort of choose your subject, your topic that you're interested in, but I can't ask questions. I can't interact. I can't be like, here, or, oh, that so resonated with me, or I disagree. I've had a different, like, there's no interaction. You can type in the comments, but that's kind of passive, right? How often does the host, and then it's not really in real time that's happening. Yeah. Clubhouse is kind of the best. I can tune into, join the rooms that are of interest to me, like picking the podcast, and I can raise my hand and get up on stage and participate in the conversation like public radio. So for me, it's really great, and I love talking to people, as you can probably guess from being on here in our
Oh no,
conversation.
no.
I'm one of those annoying Americans that will just talk to anybody anywhere, which the Dutch are like, why are you talking to me? I don't know you. And I'm like, because you have a great hat. Why wouldn't I talk to you? So anyway, I'm that person. And so for me, it's been really wonderful, particularly during this COVID time where we don't get to interact with people. And frankly, I have an Instagram account and all of that, but I'm kind of sick of all that superficial stuff. And Clubhouse has been really wonderful to go into the rooms that I'm interested in, the topics that I'm interested in, hear other people's stories, hear other people's experiences, hear the way they describe their experiences, and then be able to share mine and have this whole interaction. I've been on it about a month now, and it has been an incredible experience. I've met so many people that I do now call friends, that we chat now. And so then the way that you can communicate with each other is you can link your Twitter or your Instagram in your Clubhouse profile. So if I'm in a room talking, like if this were a Clubhouse room, people were listening to us and they really liked what I was saying, they could go to my Clubhouse profile, they could click on my Instagram link, so it would take them to my Instagram page, and then they could DM me there and we could contact there and then share phone numbers if we wanted or whatever. So that's kind of how you have to do it. There's no in-app communication other than talking, and you can only talk if you're up on stage. Otherwise, you're just in the room listening. But you're listening live in real time.
Interesting.
They're not recorded, so like there's no way to record the conversations and then post them later or anything like that. It's pretty cool, I have to say.
Because like I saw one of my podcast friends, now friend, put up a post and of the images of who was in the room. I clicked it because I had no idea, expecting to hear something, and it was just like an animated gift of just the image. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
But like Clubhouse, it is a case of it's the room where it happened, being in the room where it happened. So
that's right.
Reference right there.
It's
like okay.
Yeah. Now, what I will say is that for someone like me who is a self-professed FOMO junkie, I can really get sucked into the fear of missing out, and Clubhouse can be incredibly addictive, and you can get sucked in and spend a lot of time in there. So the first couple of days, that is exactly what happened to me. And then I had to put boundaries for myself, rules for myself about Clubhouse, so that I didn't just like spend my entire life in there. But I think that's maybe a little bit with everything, that initially when it's new, you're all excited about it. And then you kind of figure out like what way works best for you. So that's kind of where I'm at now. And it's been, I really like it.
I might have to like spend out some cash and foray in my way into the realms of Clubhouse, see what happens from there.
Well, I understand it's a beta right now, and I do think that they are working on an Android option. Like why it doesn't work on Android and only on iPhone is way beyond my pay grade. I have no idea. I mean, I don't even really understand how the internet works. I'm just glad that it does. Sometimes I feel like, is the internet not working because it's really windy outside? And my husband looks at me and I'm like, okay, never mind. Just act like I didn't say that. I don't know.
Just looking at you like,
it's like, sometimes you're the dumbest smart person I've ever known. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I just can't be bothered with the technology.
Like just simply goes, sweet.
Oh, that's cute. That's really cute. Like, so that's not a thing then. Okay, all right.
It's like I go now. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Now, question, what would you like to see happen for yourself, like for the next, say, 3 to 5 years? Let's just say this year we are opening back up, trying to get ourselves back on our feet, at different paces. But what would you like to see happen for yourself in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, in an ideal situation in the next 3 to 5 years, I would love to have a solid one-on-one coaching practice. I'd love to have a couple of group programs going,
Mm.
some focused around mindset, some focused around health and fitness and things like that. Maybe one that combines the two, because personally, I do feel like you can't have one without the other. Um, but that's me. And some people, some people can have the mindset first, which then causes like the weight to release and all of the physical health benefits to come, and other people need the health benefits first, and then the mindset things can happen. So like we can
Mm.
come at it from different directions. That's fine. So I'd love to have the full my one-on-one coaching practice full and booming and all of that. I'd love to have some group programs running in the background, and then I would love to be doing live retreats around the world, that incorporate all of what I talk about: the JOMO, the mindset, the fitness, the meditation, the yoga, the all of these things in like a week long or weekend long intensive. And then I'd like to be living closer to my son and my grandson.
What part of the world do they live in at this present time?
They are in Salt Lake City at this moment, but he is graduating university in 1 month from today, which I am so proud of that kid. After everything that he has gone through, watching me and his father and becoming a father himself and working full time, and he has this wife and son, like this beautiful family. He's just busted his tail and he's graduating, and I could not be more proud of him. So that's happening. And so at the moment they're in Salt Lake City, but who knows where life will take them. So we'll see where his journey, where he lands up and ends up in the world. But wherever that is, I hope I get to live closer than a 10-hour flight and an 8-hour time difference. I would like to be closer than that.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
I'm liking that. Very nice. I have to reveal to you, I am a being of supreme cosmic power. And I can grant you one wish. Before you say anything, you can't wish for world peace.
Okay.
You can't wish for Corona to be gone. I've already consulted that. And like Dolly Parton, I had to call on the powers of Dolly Parton. Look, that's a once in a millennia thing.
Okay.
Can't be doing that again. And yeah, you can't write down on a sheet of paper a number of things and go, I wish everything on this piece of paper would come true.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what would your one wish be?
My one wish would be that people believe and know that they are magically unique human beings, and that their life is worth living to its absolute fullest, and that every day is full of joy.
Oh, superb. You know what? That's a beautiful note. And yes, I'll work on getting that done. Like, this might take a little bit of time. Oh, but yes, I'll work on getting that done.
Thank you.
No
Thank you,
worries.
Supreme Being.
Oh, well, look, I get to use my powers like, yeah, every now and then. Like, there's some things some people have said, I'm like, okay, but have I made a mistake? But that's another story. I'm not going to be held accountable for that, I hope. But that's another. Yeah. Can you tell the lovely people how they can get hold of you out there?
Yeah, so while we wait for the Grand Supreme Being Miwa to grant this giant wish that I have,
Tell everybody that.
while we wait for him to grant my wish of bringing joy to the world, you can start working on your own joy right now by finding me at my website, which is careyoncoaching.com, spelled like my name. So Karey on, careyoncoaching.com. And you can find me on Instagram at Karey_on_coaching. All one word was taken. And you can find me in Clubhouse at Karey Spransy.
Perfect.
So, and I actually, I host 3 rooms a week there. So you can come and listen to me there. And I would love, to connect with you, anyone, your listeners, via any of those 3 resources.
Outstanding. What I'll also do, I'll put all of those details in the show notes, the description. So yeah, please get with Karey, carry on, and yes, be merry, I say, my friends. Karey,
Yes.
I've got to say thank you for coming on today. You have been outstanding. You have been a superstar.
Thank you so much. It was really, really fun. And yeah, I mean, I feel like we've known one another for years and we clearly could just talk all day long.
This is the beginning of a beautiful friendship, my rebel. Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
I'd like to say thank you to you, my friends, my life warriors out there. Please stay safe, stay well, be awesome, be excellent, be fantastic, be all the positive bees you can be in this world, and then some. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye. Peace. And we are